Hello, here's another tutorial with shrink plastic. My name's Amanda. My little business is Bowerbird Jewellery, and I create a lots of different types of mixed media jewellery. And one type of mixed media item I like to use is shrink plastic in my jewellery. I think it's quite fun, it's quick, and you can sort of make it into any shape you want, really, and cut it out. So this tutorial is trying to create texture onto a stamp. I've done a few other earrings and other bits of jewellery with texture on. I've got some here. You can see that I've made a texture swirl on there. So I'm going to try and use it on this larger heart. And I'm going to use the shinier side. Now, shrink plastic has two different sides to it. One's shiny and one's matte. Actually, if I just open... I was going to open this up, but this is the item I'm using at the moment. Shrink plastic is comes in different colours. This one I'm using is pastel pink. So basically, I've been using this for decoration. So this is the matte side, and hopefully you might be able to see through the video. This is the shiny side. So you can see one's shiny. Now, on the shiny side, you can colour in with permanent markers, that kind of thing. On the matte side, you use that for colouring in with coloured pencils, other things as well. Anything that you can use the colour to shrink down in. There are lots of different types of companies that make shrink plastic. This one's a British company. They're called Shrinkles. They call it Shrinkles. In America, they call it Shrinky Dinks, which is another brand name, I think. This is a company called Wizard. They're British made, so they're made here in Britain. There are other companies. There's Poly Shrink, which is an American one, and I think there's also one called Graphics with an F, with F and an X. So Graphics is also one. They do some really nice bright colours as well. But you can just buy shrink plastic in white and you can colour it yourself, so it's a great idea, really. You can use it whatever colour you like then. So what I've got here is the shinier side of my pendant. It's slightly shinier, but what I've done is, it's not really shiny, because what I've done is I've used some sandpaper to slightly sand it back before I shrunk it. So when I get the whole sheet of shrink plastic, I actually sand it very finely in a cross hatch, or one way and then one the other way. So you just get, so if you do want to colour it in on the shinier side, it will take the pattern and the ink, just so it makes it double-sided, really. So you do that underwater. So what I've done is I've obviously shrunk that out. That's before it's shrunk. So after it's shrunk, if you want to just touch it up, sometimes you might find that when you're cutting, especially with these hearts, the points might be a bit too sharp to wear for jewellery. So if you wet this and then wet this maybe under a tap, you just carefully sand the point back. It's very easy to sand. Just make sure you don't breathe any of this in. So you just sand the edges, etc. Do it underwater. Do it wet. It's much easier. So there we go. So I've sanded those back. They're not too sharp. Now to choose my texture. Now I've got some texture rubber mats I bought. They are from Crafter's Companion. So there's the how they look here, and these are from their textures collection. So it says textures artist collection there. So this one is called Walls and Corners. So you can see there's a brick wall there. What I'm going to choose to try and use for this heart is this sort of like this writing that's up in the corner here. I'm going to see if I can try and get that writing to go across the heart. So that's what I've used. Now this is grey rubber. It's quite a strong rubber. It's really good to use for this, especially when you're heating up shrink plastic. Apparently it takes the heat. I haven't tried any others yet. Well, let's see. There's obviously clear polymer stamps. I'm not quite sure about how hot they can take heat. I mean, this doesn't get too hot, but you know, you don't want to ruin your stamp. So if you have a stamp you might want to try and use, I think grey rubber's fine. The dark red rubber might be okay too. But if it's clear polymer, I would check with the manufacturer, see if you can use them to heat to go into shrink plastic. So check before you do it. So what I've done is I've got my texture stamp ready there. I've actually put some boards down underneath my mat. I've got my desk, and I've got like a plastic mat there as well. If I just move that back underneath this, it was getting a bit hot, so I've got a cork board, a little cork sort of placemat kind of thing, a cork sort of chopping, not chopping board, but it's like a cork board there, from IKEA or IKEA. And I've also got a rubber mat, which is like a special craft mat. It's from Do Crafts, so it's like a rubbery mat. So anything that's to protect your work surface, really. On top of that, I've placed some Teflon sheeting. So I've just taped it down to my desk there so it doesn't move about. So blue painter's tape, so there's no sort of residue. And so I've got my pendant here ready to go. I've also got my craft heat tool here. My craft heat tool is a 2-speed one. As you can see, there's 2 speeds there. So this one is Paper Mania. When you're using it, try not to put your hand over the air intakes there, because that's obviously doing the air. And I always like to, I know this is supposed to be up here, but I like to leave it down. Just when I need to put it down quickly, I can just put it down on the stand, and the tool, the top of it, which is hot, won't go onto my work surfaces at all. Okay, so that's that, and I've got that ready. Now these have already shrunk. So you can either shrink plastic in the oven, in your food oven I think is okay. I have a spare oven just in case, because I also bake polymer clay, so I like to have a non-food use oven. So there's the heart. What I've also got is, I don't think we'll need it for this thing, video, but I've got like a wooden chopping board here. Sometimes when I'm just shrinking it in with a heat gun, you need something heavy to place on top of it. But we should be okay. Just the heat of the mat should be okay, the stamp texture mat. So I've got my surface all prepared. I've got my heat gun, but I also need something to hold on to it. So when you're heating it up, it's going to fly about because it's quite loose. When it starts heating it up, and you'll know when it starts heating up because it'll sort of stop and sort of slightly stick to the surface. It won't start blowing away. Then you sort of know that it's starting to soften again. The other thing is, sometimes when you're using the heat tool, instead of it just being like firm like that, it'll actually sort of go a bit floppy. So and when it starts sticking to your heat tool, when it starts sticking to your actual mat, it doesn't stick literally, but it will sort of stay put rather than being blown about by the air. You'll know that it's starting to soften again. So so let's make sure I've got the right surface there. Is that the shinier surface? Yep. And I've got my pokey tool, or anything that can hold on to it. You can either use some tweezers here. I've got these reverse action pliers. You can use anything from like a skewer, anything that you don't have to actually hold your finger onto, because obviously using a heat gun you don't want to burn your fingers, because they do get a bit hot. Okay, so I've got my heat gun here. I'm going to use it on the second setting, just because it's a bit quicker. But make sure you've got your stamp ready, and we'll see how we go. Just keep moving the heat gun around. You don't really want to leave it in one place, because it actually can burn if you get it too hot. I've been lucky, I haven't actually burnt any yet, but yeah, you don't want to overheat it too much. It can sort of get a burnt colour on it, discoloration. So I'm just so you can see it's still moving about, so it's obviously not heated up yet, and it's still moving about as well. So just keep moving the heat gun around. I can see the Teflon sheet sort of lifting up. So it's starting to lift up a bit with the heat. So that's a better indication that it's sort of starting to warm up. I can feel that's starting to feel a bit... No, it's not really moving about now. Not so much. Just go this side. That's starting to look a bit floppy now. You can see that's sort of moving and the rest of it isn't. I'll just do that. I think that's just about there now. That seems like it's okay. Let go. Take that. And quickly try and put where you want to do. It's not an exact science. I wouldn't press too hard just to start off with. If you think you haven't got a deep enough impression, you can do it again. You just shrink it out again. I did that to this one. I didn't get quite a deep enough impression, so I heat it again. And when the impression disappears, that's when you know it's sort of started heating up again. So let's see what we've done here. Ah, there we go. Oh, that's really pretty. I'll just leave that to cool down a bit. Okay, no, it didn't take long. Just move it about. Just leave it a little bit longer. Yeah, that's starting to solidify. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, that's not too hot. Now what I've done is, as you can see, I've used some of that with a couple of the dots of the text. Don't know if you can see on there. You see the texture on there? Yeah, that's looking really nice. I like that. Just a bit of text, a little bit of something on there, a bit of interest. And then after that, you can sand that back a little bit. I might heat it up again just to get some texture maybe down here, or maybe I shouldn't overdo it. No, I might leave that actually. I might just put a bit down there. I'm tempted. I might just heat some up and put some down there as well. And then after that, you can use some rub and buff or sort of gilding wax, all that kind of stuff. I'm going to try and use some cosmic shimmer, and we'll see how that goes. But I'm just going to try and use a bit more heat on that end here. See how we get on. Get my pokey tool. There we go. So I've got a bit more texture on there. I have seemed to have melted the other bit, but it doesn't matter. I think it looks quite nice like that. So there we go. It's a bit hot still, so put it down a bit. Just let it go. Cool down a bit. Okay, should be right now. There we go. Okay, right. So as you can see, I've used the texture sheet up the top here, and down the bottom as well. You see it? If I zoom in a bit, that's better. You can see the textures on either side. Now I'm going to try some cosmic shimmer gilding paste and see how it comes on now. So I'll leave that there. Go and get my cosmic shimmer. Right, so here we go. I've got the Cosmic Shimmer metallic gilding polish here. It's a water-based one, so it's not too smelly, and you can actually blend two different colours together as well. I've got the rich red gilding polish here. So it has a little applicator on the top there, so it just comes off on the lid. So there's a little tab there. I've just taken that off. So all you do is it's quite easy to apply to shrink plastic. It's easier on the shiny side. You can see I've already done one one coat, if you like. You can see just there. You can see the texture on it there, the tops and bottoms. So you just sort of add a little bit to the applicator. You don't need much. It goes a long way. Just enough that you get a bit on there, and then just lightly glide it over. And it will pick up all the polish, all the texture. So just a little bit at a time. It's easier to put a small amount on rather than actually putting too much on, and then you have to try and take it off. So as you can see, if you put it on top of the texture, it really brings it up. Now, there we go. So you can see, just leave it a little bit, and then it will sort of set, so to speak, onto the actual heart. So I'll just add a bit more red to the edges there. That looks a bit better. And to there. And to there. Go. Right. Okay, you can take off as much as you like. I think that looks quite nice. You can even go around the edges just to finish them off a bit. And there we go. Then there's the back, so I might colour that in there at another time with the rest of the ink around the back as well, just to make it look more uniform. There we go. So so there we have it. So that's the little tutorial I've got of creating texture using a stamp, and then finishing off with a bit of gilding polish. You can see that looks quite nice. You can really see the texture now. I've actually done another one here. This is on the matte side, so you can see this is the matte side of the actual shrink plastic. That's the shiny side there. So you can see I've done a really deep indentation. You can see the really good, well-defined stamp texture on there as well. So it depends which look you're going for. That's like a metallic with a matte look. And this one's the shinier side. I sometimes prefer the shiny side. It looks like a more of a metallic finish there. So there we go. So that's just another little tutorial. Thanks for watching, and hope you enjoyed it.